In this video, we're going to go over 3 different ways to make a gin and tonic, from very meh to something super delicious. Our first gin and tonic can be spotted at any nightclub or maybe your neighborhood dive bar. It's quick, it doesn't take much thought, and it's easy to drink. Starting by dropping some crushed ice into a cheap and flimsy plastic cup. Now, add an affordable gin of your choice. Don't add too much though. As a responsible club owner, you really want to make sure everyone will have to come back for refills. Since it's a teeny tiny cup, there is only about half an ounce of gin in there anyway. Next, top off with a can of tonic water. It goes without saying that everything should be stored at room temperature, cause who doesn't like their gin and tonic warm and tepid and very watered down by the melted ice? Squeeze in your wedge of lime and just toss it in there because you're probably busy making your next drink by this point, and ta-da, it's done. But it's not going to be as good as our second G&T, which can probably be spotted at a nicer craft cocktail place with a much higher price tag. Start off by dropping some ice with a splash of water into the glassware you're using, and we're going to start quickly with a professional bar tool, aka a chopstick, to cool the glass down. You'll know it's ready when it starts to fog up on the outside of the glass. Dump out all the extra water into your bathtub because you're too lazy to walk to your kitchen sink. Add in your gin. We're using Hendrick's here, a commonly considered better gin than our first one. At the end of the day, it's really up to personal preferences, but we are using a more expensive gin and tonic combo in this scenario. Stir again to cool down the gin this time. Fun fact, 0-degree ice can chill a cocktail to below 0 degrees Celsius. Here we're using a peeler to create some nice and long cucumber ribbons. You can save the rest to make yourself a healthy cucumber salad. Oof, those chubby fingers again. Make a few circles inside the glass so it looks all polished and pretty, which was totally pointless since we were about to mash it anyway. With our trusty bar tool chopstick. But it's different this time, because we're using the fat end. Yeah. Top off with some tonic water. I did refrigerate it before foaming, but not for as long as I like to, so do as I say, not as I do, and remember to thoroughly chill your tonic water when you're making it at home. Keep the glass tilted at an angle so you don't lose too much of those bubbles we're trying to preserve. I've seen the other technique where you let it go down your bar spoon, but I swear it looks like you're losing more carbonation that way, doesn't it? Correct me if I'm wrong, I totally could be. And there it is, our homemade gin and tonic. Oh no, there's still the lime. Right, squeeze. Actually, I don't always add lime to my G&T when I'm using cucumber. I know it's supposed to have lime in it, but sometimes I find it good enough without. To mix a whole drink, we're gonna gently lift everything up and do a half turn with a spoon. Cut off a sprig of fresh rosemary. What? You don't grow your own rosemary? What are you, a peasant? Gently drop it on top of your drink and voila, now you can charge twice the price for this G&T. Our final recipe comes from my favorite book, Liquid Intelligence. I know, whatever, everyone talks about it, but it is that good if you haven't read it. Most of the work actually happens inside the fridge, so number 1, keep your gin in the freezer, and number 2, keep your fresh tonic water in the coldest part of your fridge, the part that freezes your food from time to time, if you don't want to bother with the ice bucket. Minutes before you're ready to serve, freeze the glass you're going to use, or alternatively, use liquid nitrogen if you have access to that stuff. When you're ready to make your drink, prepare yourself mentally for what's about to come, because we're going to try to do everything quickly before the liquids get warm. Then pull everything out of the fridge. We're going to use 1 3/4 ounces of gin and 3 1/4 ounces of tonic to make a 5-ounce drink. I'll have all the measurements on screen and in the description box. There are 2 things I did differently from the book. The first one, as you can see, is I'm using a Collins instead of a highball glass here because my highball is a bit too big for this job and he does not want to fit in my freezer. Since we're hand pouring the tonic, make sure you have a rough idea of where your 5-ounce wash line is. You can do what I did here and just make a mark to remind yourself. Pour in your tonic very slowly with the glass tilted and slowly bring it back up again. Squeeze in as much juice as you can from a 1/4 of lime. I wish I strained it first to get rid of the seeds or use some of my pre-squeezed lime juice, but oh well, you learn. Don't throw in your lime, at least not right now, because we don't want to disrupt the bubbles. Gently slide in some freezer cold ice with a spoon. Emphasis on the gently. The final step is also not in the original recipe, but it's something I like to do to make up for the lack of carbonation. Top everything off with just a little sparkling water. And there you go. I swear, this is so good. Without a doubt, my favorite one out of the 3. Oh man, narrating this is making me want to make myself a gin and tonic now, so I'm gonna go do that, but I'll be back with more cocktail videos very soon. It's a wonderful excuse for me to drink at home.